it had shaken them up. It had unsettled them, and their confidence was shaken. Their sense of what they thought they were capable of was in question. There was a lingering question in their mind. I know some people say, well, you got to move on. Well, yeah, it's hard to move on when you're trying to figure out what happened. I mean, yeah, I want to move on, but I mean, I needed to get the root of what went wrong before, because, I mean, what does this indicate about what's going to happen next time? I mean, they needed answers. They needed an interpretation for what this meant. I mean, had they lost their anointing? I mean, was there something they forgot to do that explains why they came up empty? Was there something they need to pay attention to that they didn't pay attention to, that was the reason for why this hadn't happened? I mean, it wasn't like they had never cast out demons before. How come what had worked before it didn't work this time? I mean, you know, by this point they had become pretty proficient and they had a history. And when they reviewed in their mind all the things that they did, they couldn't come up with anything that they had done different when the demons came out than this time when the demon just did not move. The demon just mocked them. And I love the fact that this is in the Bible. I love the fact that this account is in the Bible. I can really relate to the disciples. I can relate to how they feel in this situation, because I don't know about you, but there are times when I encounter something that I do everything that I did before and nothing happens. I mean, at times when I do everything that I think I was supposed to do, and there is no effect. There's no response. There is no change. I mean, is there anybody like me that can relate to some things that you prayed about and ain't nothing happened? I mean, listen, we all got testimonies. How many got testimonies? I mean, there's some things, you know, God worked a miracle, and we claimed the word, and we prayed, and I mean, and we can say, the Lord, but how many know there's still some stuff where the demon ain't moved? Are you listening to me today? I mean, I know it's hard to be honest in church, but can anybody be honest out there? There's some stuff you're trying to figure out. What went wrong? What in the world is the reason why this has not happened? I mean, let's face it. God is able, isn't he? I mean, God can do anything but fail. Amen. And, I mean, you can't think of nothing you did. I mean, you can't think of no sin you're in right now, can you? I mean, you confessed and, you know, you repented. I mean, there was a time when you was doing a whole lot wrong. Are y'all listening to me today? But I mean, right now, I can't think of nothing I'm doing that could mean why that demon is not moving. I love this, you know, and it's almost like they were like thinking that they had Jesus over a barrel. But the thing that's striking to me is the response Jesus gives them. I mean, Jesus responds to that question without giving them any reassurance. I mean, he doesn't. Clearly, they were broken. They needed affirmation. They needed encouragement. They needed to know it was going to be all right. They needed compassion, sympathy. You know, why could not we cast them out? In other words, what's wrong with us? Jesus, help tell me, am I okay? They were looking for that. That's what they needed from Jesus. But Jesus, he says, he almost comes off cold. He comes off almost heartless. He comes off cut and dry, blunt. He doesn't seem to take into consideration their feelings. or the fact they were disappointed and discouraged. He doesn't even seem to take into consideration the fact they tried and that they were good people and they tried their best. They were sincere. How many know, don't you think that should count for something? You know, how many guys know, you know, when your wife be getting on you, main thing you be thinking, yeah, I know, but what about the fact I tried? You know, we think we ought to get points for effort. Are you with me out there today? Yeah, okay, all right, maybe I didn't take out the trash. But what about all the other times I took the trash out? And you know I had to get to work, and you know, sometimes you just want somebody to stroke you. You want somebody, you know you messed up, you know you failed, and it's not even just about what happened as much as it is about I need to be affirmed and reassured. And I think that's what the disciples were looking for. You know, they were looking for Jesus to say, oh, don't worry about it, fellas. Y'all still my disciples. I still love you. But how many know that's what they wanted, but that's what they needed? You know, sometimes what you want ain't what you need. And Jesus didn't give people what they wanted. Jesus gave you what you needed. And sometimes you need some tough medicine. Tell the person you need some tough medicine. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think you ought to have friends that, you know, always like will comfort you. You know, you ought to have some friends that no matter what you tell them about, they're going to say, oh, don't worry about it. You know, everybody ought to have somebody in your life that's kind of like, you know, a mother and gives you that paternalistic stroke. You know, man, I tell you, I tried, man, they did this at work. Man, don't worry about it, man. You're a good person. You're going to be all right. It's good to have people like that in your life. But it's also good to have somebody in your life that tell you the truth. Yeah, don't eliminate all the people that will look you in the face and say, stop whining. Seriously, I mean, you ought to have somebody in your life that look at you and say, come on, man, you can do better than that. Man, you're going to stop being soft, man. Suck it up. I'm going to tell you, if you don't have anybody like that in your life, how many of you married somebody like that? Don't put your hand up. I mean, you go to the wife, you say, you know, oh, man, they messed with me at work. You know, I'm just so tired. And well, why don't you go get some rest? I don't want to hear all that crap. I know I married one. I can talk about it, she ain't here. But she does not let me dump on her. I got to the point now where if I got a problem, I ain't dumping on her. She's not the one. First thing she says, well, you preaching every Sunday. Why don't you follow what you preach? I mean, you know, that's all right. You know, I got to do it, but it made me a tough man. Yes, sir. And I really believe at times, you know, and I believe a lot of times we think we're helping people when we're not helping them at all. Sometimes, you know, we think that by giving people what they want to hear and telling, because, you know, a lot of times when a person comes to you and say they want to talk to you about something, basically they'll lead you into what they want you to tell them. I mean, they build the case for how I'm being persecuted, how I'm such a victim, how people are treating me so bad. And the conclusion is for you to say, man, that don't make no sense. Man, that ain't right what they doing to you. You didn't. And there's no mention of the fact that you've been late to work, that you've been derelict, you know, you sitting talking on the phone when you should have been doing work. I mean, ain't no mention of all the other aspects in the situation, which really is the reason why you're being persecuted. I mean, it ain't for Jesus' sake, it's for stupidity's sake. You know, couples come to me and they want to tell me and they want to demonize their spouse and talk about how bad their spouse is. And I be sitting there listening, wow, man, your spouse is a real demon. I mean, after they finish, man, I'll be thinking, man, their spouse is crazy. Whew. But then when you talk to the spouse, you find out there were some factors, there were some elements of the story that they left out. I mean, even in a court of law, you got the defense and prosecution. Even they understand that you cannot build a case on the basis of one side. And it just seems to me that it was like Jesus says to them, because of your unbelief. I'm not going to tell you that it is, I'm not going to have a little pity party and feel sorry for you. I mean, here they were looking for answers, and they wanted him to tell them what they had done wrong. I mean, this was uncharted territory for them because they had never had a demon defy them. They had never had anything to just repulse them like this. And not just repulse them, but it repulsed them in front of everybody. I mean, everybody saw them impotent. Everybody saw them fail. Everybody looked and saw the demon whoop their backside. I mean, it's one thing to lose, but how many don't like to lose?